Welcome to the Channe Show, hosted by yours truly, Kavita Channe. Today we've got Tracy Schuldiner and Mike Wild from 211 Broward to talk about how 211 can help you through this pandemic and more. Tracy, Mike, thank you both so much for being on the show today. I had to have you guys here. 211 Broward has been such a great resource for so many people during this pandemic. Can you guys please give us a little information on 211 and how it can help people in our community today?
211 Broward is a 24-hour comprehensive crisis helpline that provides supportive listening and connections to health and human services. So ordinarily, we are very busy, but during the pandemic, we have been especially busy. One, people first wanting to know about the pandemic, what does it mean to them? They might have some questions about the virus. And then, as you know, people are affected, whether it be their jobs or family members being sick, whether they should go to the hospital. And then so many people were losing their jobs, having to call in to get information about that, having to get information about help with utilities, mental health, anything that you can really think of. They were calling us, and we're there for emotional listening as well.
Well, let's touch on that in a minute, but I do want to say that it seems like now everybody has either themselves experienced COVID-19 or knows somebody that has, right?
Yes.
It seems more closer than it was, say, a month ago. So both of you actually know somebody with COVID-19 as well. Do you want to touch on that, Mike?
Sure. Actually, my ex-wife came down with coronavirus. Nothing that had her hospitalized. I mean, she's 37, so lucky enough, she just has been in bed rest for the last 3 or so weeks. The collateral damage of that, obviously, she can't really do much, so she has to be taken care of. But also, I've got an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so the whole clever system with homeschooling and all that fun stuff, that's taken up a lot of the day. In fact, it's funny, I was joking with a friend of mine who was talking about he's got no kids and he's a younger guy, and how it's great you'd be able to catch up on all his reading and work on his business and do all the Netflix and all that stuff. And I said, you and I are living two very different quarantines, my friend. And so it's, the older community, like my father, first of all, my 92-year-old grandmother, we can't even visit her. I mean, she's, definitely off limits. My father who you both know, is 66 years old, and he's diabetic. And so he's afraid to really go out anywhere. So we haven't really seen him. He stopped off for a little bit one day out front of the house, but we haven't really seen him much. So there is a different quarantine than mine. So for all those out there that are quarantining in the under 35 community that don't have any kids and are hanging out watching Netflix, I envy you a little bit, and I'd like you to stop your whining, please.
Well, who's taking care of your ex-wife, by the way?
Well, actually, she's behind me. She's quarantined in the master bedroom.
How did you guys find out she had coronavirus? Where did she get the test?
She had no symptoms initially except for fever, but very high fever. Fevers that you normally would be very worried about, 103, 104 fevers, and that's very dangerous in an adult. But that's all she had. No other symptoms whatsoever. She had that for about 2 weeks, and nothing else happened except for the fevers. Then some respiratory issues kicked in. Again, lucky she's young. The death rate right now for anyone under 45 is less than 0.2%. So they tell you, unless you can't breathe, don't go to the hospital. Aside from the kids not being in school, it's been relatively similar to if your family member had the flu and you had to bring them soup or something.
Wow, you are taking it so easily and awesomely. I'm impressed. Tracy,
a lot of drugs.
Tracy, why don't you tell us your story? Because you definitely have somebody in your family that is having an experience with coronavirus right now.
Yes, my stepmother was feeling ill, very ill, lots of different symptoms, went to the emergency room in New Jersey, and she was diagnosed with double pneumonia. Unfortunately, in New Jersey, you couldn't get the test unless you were admitted to the hospital. So they told her that they're pretty certain it was COVID, and they were treating her as such. And so she's been under quarantine for about 4 weeks. And she just got the all clear on her chest x-ray. So she's better now.
So great to hear that we have Two happy stories about
Yes,
people recovering from
especially in New
COVID-19.
Jersey.
I'm seeing people post on Facebook all the time, and social media seems to be partly our news source these days, but there's a lot of people that are having trouble that maybe lost partial income and now are having to work double time and they're homeschooling and they just don't know who to call or how to get help. Can 2-in-1 help somebody like that? And if so, how?
It's so important for people to know that 2-in-1 Broward is really there for everybody. We know no economic standards or background. It's for everybody to call. You might have a friend or a neighbor that's going through a hard time. This might not be a call that you have had to make before. We're there for emotional listening. We're there for any type of health and human services that you can think of. Any question you might have about COVID or utilities that you might need help with, or you might just need to talk it out with somebody. You've never been in this situation before, and somebody might feel a little awkward about it, but we are telling you, please do not. We are here for you. There's no judgment. It's anonymous. It's confidential and it's free, and we're here for you 24/7.
Mike, do you want to touch on that?
This is going to be something that we've never seen before. The last time we've had this type of stoppage in work, it was World War II, and that had nothing to do with, a disease and coming back to work. It had more to do with, that the country needed everyone, all hands on deck. So this is going to be really interesting. I don't think anyone has a playbook for something like this, except 2-in-1, who actually has a pandemic playbook, believe it or not, which is why 2-in-1 has been available uninterrupted virtually for the entire county and beyond. But the business owners that have, actual people that come in and the employees that actually have to go to a place to work and can't work from home, it's going to be a transition. It's going to be really interesting to see over the next month or two what happens.
Tracy, have you seen an increase in calls on the 2-in-1 helpline? And if so, what are people calling about mostly?
Yes, well, people are mostly calling about basic needs. I would say that's about 41% of our calls. Interestingly enough, since March, our mental health needs has had an increase of 118%.
Wow.
That's a big increase. And also suicide-related calls, the increases have been 86%. So
wow.
That is significant. That will just show you what type of shifts there have been in calls. Food is our number one call, food insecurity, as I'm sure you've been noticing on the news.
It seems like there are so many resources for food, yet there's people without it, when it looks like food is the one thing that people are offering to people for free.
For example, Senior Touchline is a program that we have at 2-in-1 Broward. A lot of the seniors cannot get out to get to the food. They're in touch with ADRC, and they're helping seniors with food, but they have a backup. So they're waiting for food. Then there are other people that cannot make it to some of the food supply runs, and so they're without food. So we're always trying to find out where our database allows us to look at different demographics in their area and try to connect them with different food.
Let's talk about the Senior Touchline for a minute, because we got to go back to that.
Yeah.
You guys have an amazing program, the Senior Touchline, where families can register their senior family members to get a phone call every day, and 2-in-1 Helpline will call every day and check on them. How can people sign up their families now? Because the seniors probably need that call now more so than ever when they can't physically see their family anymore.
Yes, I've had the honor of doing those calls over the last several weeks, and I would have to say that steadily the seniors have said more and more. They are so grateful for the calls normally, but even more so during this time of isolation. They can call, and adult children for their parents can call 954-640-5800 and ask for Rafael Vasquez, or they can just simply dial 211 and ask for the program. It's for 60 and older, living alone. We do daily reassurance calls to them. And it's interesting because every week you see a shift in the calls. They become serious because they are feeling the stress. They do want to go out. They do want to socialize. And at the same time, you hear another shift. They're so grateful for what they have. And then we do hear seniors that are without food, and it's heartbreaking. We do everything in our power to connect them to services.
If anyone's able to get something going, it's Mike Wild. Mike, can we not get Uber or Lyft to spend one day where people can donate a meal and have them delivered to seniors?
When we talk about seniors, because I deal with this again with my 92-year-old grandmother, where we'd love to talk to her. She can't hear though, and she can't use any of these, the computer. She doesn't have a computer even. We bought her a tablet years ago. She doesn't know how to use that. So she's not going to be on FaceTime. She's not going to be doing Zoom calls. She's not going to be able to hear me on a cell phone or a phone, even in the facility she's at right now. So the loneliness is there. And then from a standpoint of food, so I go to the store and, I'm fine. I'm picking out stuff and wear the mask and I do all that stuff and I take it home and I get it all put away. But they can't do that. So even when we bring food, let's say I were to bring food, they don't, first of all, they stop me at the doors. Nobody's allowed in. But if I leave the food there, they still, is that food contaminated or not? It's so dangerous with the seniors. I think there are, like Tracy said, there are enough people that want to donate. It's actually the maneuvering. It's how
the
to
logistics.
How to get it to them. It'd be, and from a loneliness standpoint, I mean, one of the things that Senior Touchline, when we were able to do the brunches, it's a way to get them together too, to socialize. What I've noticed, even at 40 years old, that the isolation is killer. If I needed more of a reason to not commit a crime, having to go to jail and being away from all my friends and family, I think the isolation is something that is really weighing on everybody from a depression standpoint. But if you're a senior and basically it's okay, the choice is if I go out, I probably die, or not probably, but there's a 12% chance or so around that age group that they could die. Or, that I stay in, and what's the point of living? Because there's no light at the end of the tunnel. If we're talking about a vaccine in 2 years, 2 years might not be a life expectancy of some of these seniors that are living at home. So it's really a torturous time. As far as getting them the food and the toiletries and things like that, I'm sure that the best efforts are being done. I don't think it's going to be an Uber type thing though. I think it's going to have to be a much more organized, fastidious type of service, because we have to make sure that anything being given to them is absolutely clean.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. We do have a new program with DoorDash where they're working with local pantries and working with 211 Broward that's doing the facilitation to deliver food and pantry items to people through DoorDash. It's a new program, and we're going to be working with some of our Senior Touchline people that are in need. And it's a brand new program, and we're excited to see what DoorDash brings.
I love that idea. And if there was a way that we could donate to the seniors on 211's website, please let us know. Also, what are other ways that we can help 211? Because I'm sure people would donate a meal, donate a week's worth of groceries for these seniors as well.
We ask people to support our helpline so that we can build capacities for the lines. And we ask people to visit www.211-broward.org and click on the Donate Now button. And it really helps us to make sure that we have staff that's on the lines.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Is there any last piece of information that you want the viewers to know about 211 Broward?
We're here for everybody. Please don't be hesitant. Nobody knows who you are. You can ask anything and nobody will know. You can call at any time, day or night. We are the phone call that you need to make when you're feeling hesitant about anything. When you see the suicide hotline numbers in the community, we are actually the agency that is answering those calls. So whether you call them or you dial 211, we are a crisis intervention line. So we are taking suicide calls and crisis calls, and we're there for you, and we're there for teens, and we're also there for parents that are going through things. For example, you might find out that your child has special needs and you need help with that. Maybe right now you're needing more help than usual because you don't have an income coming in and you need the services in the community. This is a perfect time to call us. We have care coordinators that can help provide services for you.
I love that. Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, that one of the things I've always loved about 211 is that it knows no age, no economic level. It knows no race. It knows not. There's no difference. We're all in this together. So, you know, at any economic level, at any age, at any part of life, you can feel depressed. You can need to call someone. You can need to talk to someone. And especially right now, we're about to get released back into the wild, and we're going to start interacting with each other. But remember, 211 is always going to be there for you virtually for whatever you need. And as we get back out and start, you know, getting back into normal life, remember that we've got to continue to practice social distancing and also keep wearing your masks.
The signature Mike Wild mask. Tracy and Mike, thank you so much for joining me on the Channe Show. And I know we're going to help so many people that are going to watch this, and they're going to need to call 211, and 211 will be such a great resource for them. So we thank you guys for all the awesome work that you do.
Thank
you.
Right.
Grateful.
I'll see you guys at that next board meeting.
All right.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next time.